Welcome back, all you beautiful bulletproof handymen and women, to the Bulletproof Handyman Business Channel. I've been promising this for a while, and today we're doing Insurance 101. The goal by the end of this video is you're going to know everything that you need to know and nothing that you don't need to know about getting insurance for your handyman business or for any of the construction trades businesses. I've done research for quite a while on this now. In fact, I'm actually changing carriers now because of the research I did. I'm going to actually be swapping mine over today. But let's go into, right off the bat, just some things you're going to need to know about this that you're going to run into as you go apply for some quotes and get some insurance for your business. And I think the most important thing is going to be this. Insurance companies make money by charging you money for the insurance and then not paying, right? Their goal is not to pay out every single claim at 100%. So one of the things you need to know is when you go to set up your insurance, you don't want to be lying about things. For example, if you tell them you don't do electrical and then you do electrical, they're not going to cover anything if it's electrical. Same thing with plumbing, same thing with roofing. These things affect your rates. Yes, you will see that your rate will be higher if you do roofing, plumbing, and electrical. The plumbing and electrical don't affect it too much, but the roofing definitely does. So you've got to make a decision. Am I going to forego doing this kind of work so that I can have a lower rate? Or am I going to pay the higher rate so that I can do this kind of work? And that's just math you're going to have to work out for yourself. But I just want to be really clear that you don't want to go lie when you do your application for your insurance to get a lower rate, unless your only goal is just to have the insurance with no intention of anybody ever paying out should you ever need it. So don't lie, or if you do lie, just know they're probably not going to cover your stuff if you do. And there's going to be two main types we're going to look at. Now, of course, and I'll do a future video on this, you're going to need commercial liability for your vehicle, right? But that's not what we're going over. We're going over business insurance. So you're going to need two things. The first one that you're absolutely going to need is called general liability. And the thing to understand about general liability is general liability covers, let's call it accidents, right? General liability would be like, let's say you fall off, your ladder tips over inside a living room, and it and you fall through a bay window, a big $10,000 bay window. Not something that you're going to be able to easily replace or fix on your own. Or let's say you're working and you've got all your tools out and somebody's 10-year-old kid comes walking past and steps on your razor knife and cuts their foot open and has to go to the emergency room, and you've got a $3,000 emergency room bill that you're now going to be on the hook for. That's the general liability. So think of this in terms of accidents. It's not only accidents, but think of it that way. And the other thing is going to be professional liability. And these two are very separate things. And I didn't know this until I did all the research that I did. So I've now added professional liability to mine. I do recommend you add it to yours. But professional liability, rather than covering the accidents that can happen that you're going to be liable for, like on the spot right away, professional liability has more to do with the quality of the work you perform. So let's say, for example, you go install a bunch of cabinets in somebody's laundry room, and over time, those cabinets start pulling back away from the wall, like the screws are literally coming out, and you didn't put them in right. So it's about whether you did your job correctly and whether that incorrect doing of your job causes somebody later on to either want their money back or want to sue you or want to bring some sort of action against you because of the quality of your work rather than any particular accidents happening during your work. So general liability, professional liability. You got to have the general liability. You're not going to get in with property management companies, with universities, with large corporations, a huge chunk of your client base, and including your homeowners. Most of your educated homeowners are going to want to see general liability insurance before they let you work on their house too. So general liability is a must-have, and then professional liability, although it's not a must-have, I do highly recommend getting it. It doesn't add a ton to the cost, but it's going to cover you in situations that the general liability won't. So, some things that you should know also is what affects the cost of your insurance, and it's honestly a lot of things. Number one is the type of work you do. Some types of work can be more expensive than others. Roofing specifically is going to add a decent bit on top of that, but you can't work on roofs if you don't have it, because if you do, then they're not going to cover it. Electrical and plumbing are also going to add more, although, like I said, not quite as much. Um, Also, every company is going to be very different with the rates. You could have the same type of business going in, let's say you're in Washington State as opposed to LA. The rates are going to be different partially because the types of homes you're working on. If the average home value is more, then the average repairs are going to be more. So if you're in a higher cost of living area, you may see higher rates just simply because you're not in a lower cost of living area. They're also going to take into account things like how long you've been in business. So for me, on the websites that have asked me for that information, because I've gone and gotten quotes from all of these websites to sort of test them out for you. So on the sites that do ask you how long you've been in business and if you've been covered during that time and if you've had any claims, they're going to add a value to having you as a customer and therefore give you something of a discount. If you've been in business a while without having any claims, that lets them know that you're not somebody who's likely to have claims, as opposed to somebody who hasn't been in business at all, you're just starting up. Or if you've been in business but you have had claims, that's going to affect it as well. Another big thing that's going to affect your rate is the anticipated revenue. So they're going to ask you how much money you anticipate the business going through. And by revenue, this means both for labor and materials. It means all of the money coming into the business total for the next year. So they're going to ask you that. And if you think you're going to do $1 million in business, well, you're going to need a policy that can cover that much work. If you think you're going to do $20,000 in business because you're doing this on the side, it's less likely that they're going to have a claim filed because you're doing less work. Let's see, what else is subcontractors and employees. So if you have employees, your insurance is going to be higher, or if you use subcontractors, your insurance is going to be higher. And I want to reiterate one more time, this is different with every company and this is different with every business. Every different insurance company is going to weight all of the little bits of information you provide them, every question they ask you, they're going to use that to weight your risk. And they're each going to apply a different weight to a different thing. So they're not going to be the same across the board, but it does matter if you use subcontractors and employees, how long you've been in business, what your anticipated revenue is, what types of work you're doing, especially roofs, like I said. So yeah, there we go. So that's all the things that are going to affect your rates. Another thing for us to go over is going to be the types of, let's say, the avenues that you can take to get your insurance. So number one is going to be a local agent. They're going to be more expensive. This is going to be somebody with an office in your hometown. I did have a local agent with my food truck business years and years ago, and I have to say I enjoyed having a local agent. It was nice, but they were more expensive because the guy running the business, the guy that is your local agent, they need to make their own money. So you're paying for the insurance, which the insurance company is going to get either way. That agent is his own business here locally, so you have to keep his business afloat, so there's a premium attached to that. There's also online only. And some of these online only ones are a little bit kind of fly by night and shady, and some of them are not, but some of them are going to be online only. There is no agent for you. There is a customer service line that you can eventually get in touch with somebody. So we got local agents, we got online only, but there's also a hybrid, which I really like, and I'm going to talk about. I do have a favorite. It's the one that I'm switching to. I don't quite know how they're doing what they're doing, but they are doing it. And what they have is so you're going to have an agent that's assigned to you through the company. I suggest you use them for setting it up because they're going to be able to talk you through a lot and answer a lot of questions so that you don't answer incorrectly and put yourself in a position where your insurance doesn't pay off later if you should need them to pay off. But this one has an agent that's assigned to you. They're not local and they're not going to call you every week or anything like that, but you get your own actual agent that's going to guide you through the process of setting up. If you have changes later, like say you need to add employees or you need to add a company vehicle or something, you can call them for those changes and bump it up. Or let's say you tell them you anticipate $100,000 revenue this year, but you quickly realize you're going to be at 200,000, so you want to bump up your coverage to make sure it covers your anticipated revenue. So some of them will have, well, this one anyways is the only one I found where you are going to be assigned an agent, but without paying that premium. In fact, I found, again, I went and did new quotes on all of these for my business while doing the research, and one of them was able to cut my rates in half. So I'll tell you about them in a minute. And then finally, the last type is basically an online only, but I'm going to call them out separately, and that's going to be short-term insurance. So this is not going to be how you insure your business all the time. But let's say you have, so scenario number one, let's say you have not chosen your full-time insurance carrier yet, just trying to get your business started, but somebody showed up and said, hey, we need you to have insurance and we need you to start this job now, and you don't want to go pick a full-time company. You can use this company for your short-term needs. And I'll go ahead and start with them going through each of the 4 companies that I think are the ones that you should be focused on depending on your type of business. So their name is Thimble. Thimble is how I started out my business. When I first got started, I was in exactly the position where I had a big client show up almost right away, and they said, hey, you need to have insurance. I didn't have time to go research everything. I didn't find videos like the one I'm making for you now. So I found this company, Thimble, and what Thimble will do is they'll give you insurance for one job, or just for one day, or they'll give you insurance for just a short period of time, or they'll give you a specific insurance for the type of work you're doing. Like, so let's say roofing. Let's say you don't do roofing, but somebody wants you to recoat an entire, say 3 duplexes of roofs. They want to pay you a premium, but they want it done right now. If you find yourself in that position and your current insurance doesn't cover it, you could go to Thimble and you could just get one policy for the one job, add whatever the cost is for that one policy for the one job, go ahead and add that to everything, and then you'll be good to go just for that one job. So that's going to be what Thimble does. Next is, let's go to this company called Simply. By the way, there are links in the description for all 4 of these companies that I'm going over with you today, but let's go to Simply. This is the name of the company, is Simply. Now, the only thing that I really know about Simply is that they're supposed to be the cheap option. However, keep in mind from the beginning, like I said, the way insurance companies profit is by not paying out. That's one of the ways that they can increase their profit. If they just pay out every dinky little claim that they get, then, well, they've run out of business, right? They'd run out of money. So keep in mind, if you're trying to go with somebody only because they're cheap, if their reputation is that we are the cheap company, then there's a decent chance that they're not going to end up paying out when they need to pay out. But Simply is known for being cheap. They were not the cheapest of the 4 that I looked into. They weren't the cheapest, but they're very close, and they're known for being cheap. So next we're going to go with this company called Next. Next Insurance is their name. That's who I'm currently with today. However, like I said, I'm changing today. Now, the good thing about Next is if you talk to people in the construction industry, in the trades, lots of people are insured with Next. Next knows our industry very, very well. And because they know our industry well, they provide very tailored coverage. So they're not unfamiliar with what you're doing or how to insure you. For me, they've been great. They've been fine for the last 3 years. I haven't really needed anything from them, but the price wasn't absurd. And like I said, they understood the industry. So it was very easy to just pick the coverage and get it started online. You don't get an agent. And I don't know what you would do with Next if you needed like an additionally insured coverage. But nonetheless, they're a good standard company. And then finally, the ones that I'm actually switching over to today are called CoverWallet. I had not heard of them 3 years ago, so I don't know if they're newer to this industry, but I didn't find them. However, with CoverWallet, everything I went through with them seemed to be really, really geared towards my business. One of the things I liked was that when you get a quote from CoverWallet, you don't just get a quote from CoverWallet. CoverWallet gives you a quote for different multiple underwriters, and the scale, the difference between the cheapest insurance they would offer me and the most expensive was dramatic. There was one that was like 650 a year, and then the highest one was like 4,000 a year, but they come with different coverages. So what I did was I compared my current coverage with the exact same coverage over to them, and they were quite a bit, like honestly a lot cheaper, and I really don't understand how, but I looked up reviews, and for every insurance company you're going to find really horrible reviews and really great reviews, but the overall consensus from the reviews didn't seem that it was a bad company or the best in the world. You know, you're going to pay the 4,000 a year for the best in the world. You're going to pay 400 a year for the worst in the world. This company ended up bringing me in at like 650 or something close to 700 anyways, which is far cheaper than what I'm paying with Next Insurance. And I made some other notes on them. And like I said, their name is CoverWallet, and there's a link for them in my description as well. The other things that I liked about them, where did we go? I've lost my one piece of paper. Oh, here we go. So, yeah, multiple carriers was the big deal. So getting a quote from CoverWallet, you're going to get a different quote from multiple different carriers and for multiple different coverage levels. You get your own agent. They do bundle commercial auto. I think so does Next Insurance, but Next and CoverWallet were the two that will bundle commercial auto. Other places will give you commercial auto also on a separate plan, but they don't bundle it and give you a discount. CoverWallet also has the largest commercial risk portfolio. So in other words, of all the insurance company that are insuring businesses, CoverWallet has the largest portfolio of commercial risk as opposed to residential and stuff like that. So that's a good thing, just because the bigger the pot, the better the more streamlined, efficient they're going to be, and they're just going to have more experience with getting your claims processed and stuff. And finally, oh, they do workman's comp as well. So if you need workman's comp, you don't have to have it for yourself, although I have it, or had it rather, for a different property management company that wanted it even though it's not required, so I got it. It wasn't expensive, but you can also bundle that through CoverWallet. And finally, there's a rating system for all of these companies, and they have an A rating with, like, I think it was NAIC or something like that. But looking up the general rating systems they have, this one had an A rating, and it was rated pretty fair everywhere I looked. So let me see if I missed anything here real quick. We went over why you need it. We went over the things that are going to affect the cost, the different types. So you've got Simply, they're the cheap alternative. Thimble is the short-term alternative. Next Insurance is a little more generic, but they're very experienced within our industry, and I do like them. And then finally, CoverWallet, which is who I'm switching to today. They somehow managed to get me the same coverage as Next Insurance. The reviews are about the same, except they offer a lot more, so I'm going to be changing, and they're cheaper than what I was at before. So Simply, Thimble, Next, and CoverWallet. If you guys have any questions about any of this, and I'm not an insurance expert, I just did a lot of research for you, but I'm not an expert. But if you have questions, ask me in the comments or email me at bulletproofhandymanbusiness@gmail.com. I do suggest, whether you're insured or not, that you add professional liability if you don't have it. I went over that at the beginning. You don't just need general liability. If you can afford it, please do add professional liability. I would highly suggest, at the very least today, that you go get an estimate from CoverWallet, and if you can, just get an estimate from, not the short-term one, not Thimble, but if you can, get an estimate from Simply, Next, and CoverWallet. But if nothing else, CoverWallet, because like I said, they'll provide you with quotes from multiple different carriers. So go do that today, add professional liability, and get that started now. You don't want to be in a position where you don't have insurance, where you lose a client because of not having insurance, or you lose money because you didn't have insurance. And other than that, I hope you guys are out there killing it, and I'll see you on the next one.